our webinar series on best practices in e-discovery. With over 95% of U.S. adults owning a cell phone and over 85% of those being smartphones, the mobile device is more often than not the primary source of electronically stored information, or ESI, for many cases. Over 85% of companies have also adopted a Bring Your Own Device program, or BYOD, where employees can use their personal devices for work. And commingling of work and personal domains has been at the forefront of many cases as well. Also, smartphones enable data to be extremely portable, moving it from email to the cloud and beyond. We'll be updating this session from time to time because of the dynamic nature of the smartphone and app landscape. As an example, Facebook just announced that they're implementing end-to-end encryption on Facebook Messenger. All of this has implications for your cases and more. My name is Jeff Fugit. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer for Lexby, and I'll be the moderator for today's event. We've got a lot of information to cover, so I'll jump right in. So a little bit about our webinars. Our webinars take place monthly and cover a variety of relevant e-discovery topics, trends, best practices, and strategies. We've got limited seating, so be sure to register early for the sessions that are of interest to you. If you have technical issues or questions, please email us at webinars@lexby.com, and we'll address those right away. Our webinars are available online at lexby.com for viewing via streaming video or downloadable as a PDF presentation or MP3 podcast. You'll find this webinar and a complete listing of other webinars at lexby.com. To be notified of future live and on-demand events, please email us at webinars@lexby.com or follow us on LinkedIn, where you'll also find a lot of additional best practice videos and e-discovery and forensic content. So a little bit about us. We're based in Austin, Texas, and we provide advanced cloud-based e-discovery software and forensic services. We started developing our own cloud-based e-discovery platform more than 16 years ago and have served nearly 8,700 legal professionals. We specialize in helping organizations forensically collect data for investigations and cases, as well as equipping them with an e-discovery solution that gives them full control over the e-discovery process, complete DIY capabilities, and incredibly fast performance. We've engineered the industry's most affordable, full-featured DIY cloud-based e-discovery platform. We have the industry's fastest e-discovery processing and document review platform, and that really helps you get from ingestion to document review faster, so you've got the time you need to build your best case. We deliver the industry's fastest return on investment per a study that was done by G2 Crowd. We were also distinguished as the easiest to do business with. We have a team of experienced e-discovery specialists and expert consultants who are all ACED certified. And we have a highly advanced forensic lab staffed with experts that are Cellebrite certified, which is the gold standard for smartphone collections. If you'd like a demonstration of our platform, or if you'd like a complimentary forensic consult, simply email us at sales@lexby.com and we'll get that scheduled for you. Joining us today is Nick Marrero. Nick is the Digital Forensic Manager at Lexby. He has over 11 years of digital forensics experience and a bachelor's degree in computer forensics from Bloomberg's University in Pennsylvania. Prior to working at Lexby, he was a Discovery Senior Associate at Deloitte. And before I turn it over to Nick, I'm going to cover the rapid evolution of some of the technology evolving around smartphone utilization and share with you some smartphone statistics and give you an overview of some of the ESI you can find on these devices. And then I'll also be asking for your participation in some polling questions to set the stage for Nick's presentation. So smartphones really dominate the digital landscape. Most of your custodians will use their smartphones for 4 to 6 hours each day. Not only is it important to understand the quality and character of your custodians, but demographics can also provide some insight into mobile device usage. Not surprisingly, 96% of U.S. adults ages 18 to 29 own a smartphone, and their usage tops the list, whereas only 61% of adults 60 or older own a smartphone. Bring Your Own Device programs, or BYOD, is where employees utilize their personal smartphone for work. These programs increased due to the pandemic, with over 85% of companies implementing BYOD programs. Most of these programs have a policy and some level of cost reimbursement. The employee is responsible for the carrier service contract. This phenomenon started with the launch of the iPhone, which prompted executives to tell their IT departments that they wanted to use their own iPhone for work. And this also resulted in the commingling of personal and corporate domains, which creates legal and security issues, but that didn't really prevent the train from leaving the station. So as you can see by the stats, smartphones are hubs of productivity and extend the workday for most organizations and their employees. Email usage dominates the apps used for work. Since the pandemic, we've seen an increase in email accounts with the smartphone as the primary hub of access. All right, rich sources of evidence. As you can see, smartphones are full of data. Sometimes this data can be combined into a single file. As an example, location data is often embedded in photos, depending upon the settings that are in the device. Often apps will create databases that reside on the smartphone. You have system and log data. You have location-based data. We've seen a lot of that in matters where counsel was wanting to substantiate or prove the location of a device. Can analyze multiple accounts that reside on the device. Again, that's where corporate and personal domains will often get commingled. Third-party application data, cloud storage accounts, and cloud apps. So it's a wealth of information. All right, so with that, I'm going to ask our first polling question. What percentage of your matters include a collection from a smartphone? 0 to 25%, 25% to 50%, 50% to 75%, 75% to 100%. While you're answering that, I'll thank you for participating in our polling questions today. All right, I'll go ahead and close that poll. And our next polling question is, how confident are you that custodians in your matters are disclosing all of the relevant ESI from their smartphones? Highly confident, confident, not very confident. All right, I'll go ahead and close that poll. And thank you for participating in our polling questions. And without further ado, I'll turn it over to Nick Marrero. Nick?
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar. My name is Nick Marrero, and I'm the lead digital forensic examiner at Lexby. Today, I'll be discussing an overview of smartphone forensics. We will start the webinar by going over digital forensic best practices and the forensic workflow, and taking a look at smartphone growth and evolution over the years. We will then dive into mobile device forensics, their preservation, extraction, analysis, and reporting. The purpose of this webinar is to provide you with an understanding of mobile forensics and show you just how much data can be extracted and analyzed from your everyday smartphone. When it comes to digital forensics, best practices are taken very seriously. Every step of the forensic process plays a very important role in ensuring the data that has been collected is completely forensically sound and admissible in court. Just like most fields, documentation is crucial. The documentation for any forensic collection usually starts and ends with the chain of custody form. We'll be taking a closer look at this form in a few slides. Photographing the evidence is also important. We want to ensure the device we received and analyzed is in the same condition throughout the process. Documenting any deformities, cracks, serial numbers, or just the general look of the device helps to guarantee that we're, number one, working on the correct device, and also if any issues with that device arise down the line, we can prove we received the device in a certain condition and returned it in the same way. This brings us to evidence handling. Most devices worked on in the forensic field can be categorized as they are handling the devices with care, storing them in proper, secure locations, and use the appropriate tools during examinations. These steps are often memorialized within the documentation, either on the COC or the report. Write blockers are devices that act as a bridge between the evidence and the examiner's machine to ensure no data is written or changed on the device. Write blockers can either be physical devices that you plug into the drive and then into the examination device, or it can be a software on the examiner's computer that protects any devices plugged into it from being altered. Write blockers cannot currently be used during mobile forensics due to the forensic software needing that write capabilities on smartphones. The forensic tools basically run on the device themselves in order to access as much as possible. If a write blocker was used during a mobile collection, the collection would simply fail. Write blockers will and should be used always in forensic examinations of other devices like computers, hard drives, and external drives. Next is coordination and strategy. This starts all the way in the beginning of the process between the examiner, the client, and the owner of the device. The examiner needs to coordinate with the client in order to get the device, discuss timing of the collection and return, what the client needs preserved and analyzed, what format they'd like the extraction of the data in, and the return of the device to the custodian or client. It is very common to have many meetings or calls in order to coordinate and discuss strategy, as well as filling in the client throughout the process. Ensuring the client gets what they request is the main goal of a forensic examiner. Reporting can be the most crucial step in the forensic process. All findings, processes, steps, tools, and details should be included within the forensic report. Most often, a forensic report is not needed, since a lot of the forensic work is just the preservation and extraction of data for review. Reports are crucial, though, in an analysis of the data, if an analysis of the data is required, and an expert testimony is needed. The next best practice involves the returning of the devices to either the client or the custodian, aka the owner of the device. Ensuring the device is returned in a safe and timely manner is important, especially since most people need their electronic devices for their everyday lives. Workflow and best practices go hand in devices for their everyday lives. Workflow and best practices go hand in hand, since best practices are imperative during the forensic workflow. We start on the left at the planning stage. This encompasses the beginning communications and coordinations. Next is the collection. Receiving the device and documentation are included within this step. Preservation comes next. Preservation is creating a forensically sound copy of the device. This copy is what we perform the next two steps on, analysis and extraction. Analysis will encompass any type of examination of the data preserved. Extraction is the pulling of the data, whether all of it or just pieces, to a format that is ready for review. The final step in the process is the return of the device. Let's take a closer look at the preservation itself. Device typically takes between 2 and 4 hours. This time is fully dependent on the physical size of the phone, as well as how much data is stored on it. The size of mobile devices continues to increase over time, making the preservation time increase as well. If a device is received early in the day for any type of forensic work, it can be returned after the preservation is complete, and that preservation has been QC'd to ensure that it completed successfully. At Lexby, if we receive a device via FedEx or UPS, we can usually have a 24 to 48 hour return time and can have it shipped back to the client for next day delivery. We often get asked about remote preservation capabilities. Unfortunately, it is not yet possible to remotely preserve a mobile device. There are a few alternatives though, and they are not as good as getting the device itself and having the forensic examiner preserve it in person. Cloud computing has made it possible to have a lot of the data that's on your phone also on the cloud. This data can be preserved remotely by accessing the service and pulling the data with our forensic tools. Mobile device backups like iTunes backups, iCloud backups, and Google or Android backups can be created by the owner of the device and either saved locally on their computer, or saved in the cloud. Backups are a great alternative if the phone itself cannot be handed over for preservation, but the biggest issues are depending on the custodian to properly create that backup, and that everything needed was backed up and that nothing was altered or the back. It is always best to have any device that needs to be preserved to be done physically by a forensic specialist. Now let's take a look at the chain of custody form. These forms come in all different formats depending on who created them, but they should all have the same general information within them. The chain of custody will detail the device itself, including the make, model, and serial number, and any other identifying information. COCs can include preservation information, including the start and stop times of the preservation and what tool was used. Any case information may also be included. The most crucial part of the COC is the signatures and dates and times. This part shows who had possession of the device, on what days, and at what times. Anytime the device is transferred between parties or line added and signed. This includes the transfer of the device between individuals within the forensic preservation stages and when the device is stored in a secure location during off hours. Here we are looking at a brief timeline of the mobile device and smartphone world. From the first official mobile device created in 1973, the first smartphone in 1994, and the iPhone's debut in 2005. It's truly amazing how much has changed in just the last 16 years since we first set our eyes on the iPhone, which arguably changed the course of society. Now we have unlimited amounts of information, entertainment, and communication mediums literally in the palm of our hands, something that was unimaginable not very long ago. Here we can see the incredible growth of smartphone users, tripling since 2012. Almost half of the world's population has a smartphone now. Another incredible feat for something that wasn't widely used until the turn of the century. Next, we see how the smartphone ecosystem looks. As of 2020, over 70% of all smartphone users have a phone with an Android operating system. This is due to Android being an open source OS that many smartphone producers can easily integrate into their own devices. It's also due to Android devices coming in many budget-friendly options, all the way up to the high end with top features. Apple's iOS comes in next with about 20% of the market. Since Apple does not have an open source OS, only Apple devices run that operating system, limiting the availability to only those willing to pay more premium prices. The final two main operating systems you may encounter include Windows Mobile OS and BlackBerry's OS. Neither of these phones or operating systems are in production anymore, but they were much less rare 10 to 20 years ago. So these may pop up every now and then if older devices lying around need to be preserved and examined. There are some other operating systems for smartphones out there, but they are incredibly rare to come by. Before getting into the details of mobile forensics, I'd like to talk about some challenges we come across. First, which is the smartphone market. Since new devices and updated operating systems are coming out constantly, forensic tools need to continuously work on updating their software to accommodate the ability to preserve them properly as well as decode the preserved data correctly. Along with these tools needing to be updated, forensic examiners need to keep up on those new devices and OSs to be able to properly analyze that data. Encryption and security is very important to everyone who owns a phone. Smartphone manufacturers highlight their device security at their events and have made it one of their top priorities when developing new devices and software. With better security comes the challenge of accessing the phone's data for examination. This is another area companies like Celebrite and Magnet Forensics work constantly to overcome in order for data from mobile devices to be properly extracted and as completely as possible. The physical data size of smartphones has been a challenge as well. Every year we get new phones with bigger available storage options than the last. With bigger storage sizes comes more data on the phone, which in turn means more data to collect, making the examination process take more and more time. We are continuously working on solutions to these hurdles, specifically forensic software companies and the work on their software to keep up, and also training courses for forensic examiners being updated to train us in new technologies and examination techniques. Most forensic software companies offer training and certification in their tools, updating their training curriculum as the field changes. Celebrite, one of the leading mobile device forensic softwares, supports over 12,000 different mobile devices. As you can see in these screen captures, a lot of these mobile manufacturers are probably unrecognizable to you, like they are to me. The great thing is, with the ability to preserve and examine such a huge variety of smartphones and even old brick or flip phones, the odds of coming across a device that can't be examined is very slim. A lot of these manufacturers can be much more popular outside of the US, so having all of these options is amazing. Once a manufacturer is selected, you can then narrow it down by model. For instance, if you select Apple, then select the iPhone 12 Max, say, which number, since a lot of phones that look like they're under one model could be under an even more specific one. Celebrite also allows you to auto-detect the device and will choose the correct one based on what's connected to the examiner's computer. Finally, you can use their search function to locate the phone based on a model number or name. There are a few different preservation or extraction methods, including physical, logical, file system, and SIM card. Here we can see a few examples of the differences between the main three methods. Physical extraction is the #1 best kind. This is a bit-for-bit preservation of a mobile device, which includes the unallocated or unused space of the phone. Unallocated space is where, if not overwritten, data in a little bit. Unfortunately, as smartphone security grows, physical extraction capabilities shrink. In order to perform a physical extraction, access to the device's internal memory is needed. These security measures made by the smartphone's manufacturers do not allow tools to access everything needed for this type of extraction, making this type of extraction unsupported by forensic tools for more recent devices. Logical extraction will pull the user data, which includes text messages, call logs, videos, photos, and pretty much what the user can see or access on their device. This is the quickest collection method, but will pull the least amount of data. The file system extraction gets the files embedded in the memory of the device, as well as retrieving the artifacts within the logical extraction. It can also get hidden system files and databases on the phone that the user does not normally have access to, but contains some very vital information. An advanced logical is basically an extraction that combines logical and the file system data, making this type second best only to the physical extraction. The advanced logical extraction has become the standard for iOS and Android devices. You can also extract data from SIM cards. Even though not much data can be found on the SIM, user and network information can be obtained. Older SIM cards used to store user data like call logs and contacts. Manual collection, this is literally using a camera to take pictures of the screen of the phone. It is very time consuming and not forensically sound, but if there is no other way to get the data, manual collection will have to suffice. Now let's look at what can be extracted from a phone. There is so much information on the devices today that it's hard to get a clear picture of everything on it. The vital data about the device itself will get pulled. This includes all the identifying information about the phone, like model, serial number, IMEI, and phone number. It will also display setting information such as if cloud backup and Find My are turned on, location information, time zone settings, and the message retention policy of the device. Time zone settings and the message retention policy of the device, which is the setting to delete messages after a certain time frame if it's turned on or not. As for the actual content of the phone, so much can be discovered about the user and what they did on the device. All of the applications they used, calendar entries, call data. You can view and analyze the photos, videos, audio files, and other documents saved on the phone. Crucial information such as location data, search and web history, and even account logging credentials are made available for analysis. And of course, maybe the number one requested data set can be viewed and analyzed, which is messages. This will also break down messages and other artifacts by apps or other categories. So if WhatsApp messages are what need to be looked at, these tools will have them readily grouped and available for review. Here's another view of the extracted data within Celebrate. I can select one of the main categories and analyze that data within it. One of my favorite features is Timeline View. This view breaks down all of the device's activity from every category of data and sorts it into a timeline. This is great for examinations that are focused on specific days or time frames. This view and feature can show that person X sent a text at 1 p.m. on the 4th, connected to the Wi-Fi at this location at 1:02, and then search the web for such and such at 1:03. You can break down the time frame, or like we see here, view everything on the device from its lifetime, plus some, since it will show data on the phone that existed beforehand. Like if you save a picture that was created in 2010, it will be part of the earlier part of the timeline. Messages and chats can be sent or received from such a large variety of different applications. Since tools like Celebrate break it down by app, it can become a lot easier to find the specific message you're looking for. Within the tools, messages are grouped by conversations. So a conversation between John and Ann will be separated from a conversation that's between John, Ann, and Tom. Conversations can be sorted and searched by participant, time frame, and even by keyword. Conversations are displayed very similarly to how we see them on the phone itself, in the classic bubble view. This helps easily display the chat, identifying which party sent which text and at which time, and includes any attachments such as photos. and the metadata for every piece along the way. This brings us to the next topic, metadata. Metadata is, simply put, data about data. No matter the file type, there will always be some form of metadata within that file, though the amount of metadata varies between different files. Very useful and even crucial evidence can be discovered. Information on the file's creation, modification, author, when it was last accessed, and the size of the file are pieces of metadata within that file. Size of the file are pieces of metadata within that file. This information is helpful in creating a timeline of events, finding when a document originated, what the hash value of the document is, and what type of file you're examining. The hash value is an especially important part of metadata, given that this string of numbers and letters is essentially the fingerprint of the file. This value can be used in distinguishing two similar files from one another or proving that two files are the same. If the content of a file gets altered, the hash value gets altered. The hash can prove very valuable in cases where suspected IP theft is involved. Comparing the known hash value of the source file to a suspect's collected devices in order to confirm or deny that theft of any documents is a great example of where hash values and hash analysis come in handy. The examination of deleted data is tricky in today's mobile forensic world. As I mentioned before, deleted data resides within the unallocated or free space of a smartphone. In order to collect that space of a device, a physical extraction needs to be performed. Due to mobile device manufacturers essentially limiting any type of access to that space, a physical extraction is not possible, and therefore recovery of deleted data can't happen. Since older devices don't have these limitations, a physical extraction can occur, and the recovery of deleted data is possible there. When a file is deleted, the space on the deleted data will stay on that device until it is overwritten. It's much more likely to recover data that has been deleted recently, since there has been less time for that data to be replaced. Partial recovery of deleted data is possible, since new data may not completely overwrite that old data. In these cases, not all of the metadata will be present, so metadata or contents of the data will be lost. The reporting stage of the forensic process occurs towards the end after the collection, preservation, and analysis is complete. A forensic report will provide a complete picture of the entire examination from beginning to end. Reports are normally only requested if an analysis of the data occurs. All of the information about that device, software used during the examination, and supporting evidence will be included within the report. There isn't a standard format of forensic reports, but they should all include the same information about the case and analysis. Forensic software tools sometimes have a reporting feature, which will take whichever evidentiary information you'd like and generate a report. The forensic examiner can use this to build the rest of their report around. In terms of review, data from a collection can be exported into a number of different formats. A PDF can be great for the review of text messages, providing all of the metadata as well as the contents of the conversations. An Excel report for a large amount of data for easy sorting and filtering, or an HTML report for easy viewing of all relevant information and contents. The native files will be exported along with these file types for cross-referencing and viewing. Now we come to the data load file. Relatively recently, some forensic tools like Celebrate have introduced the ability to export a data load file. This provides the useful ability to easily transfer data from a forensic preservation to an e-discovery review platform for review. All of the information necessary for review is included within the load file, and once uploaded, review can be performed of the relevant evidence. These load files integrate perfectly with Lexby and other review platforms. This brings us to the end of our discussion on smartphone forensics. Some key points I'd like for you to remember include what mobile device forensics is, which is a subset of digital forensics pertaining to the acquisition, preservation, and analysis of mobile devices. There are many different, a lot of those, are unheard of here in the US. Android and iOS are the two main operating systems for smartphones on the market. The different mobile forensic extraction types include logical, file system, physical, advanced logical, and manual. So much data can be extracted from a phone, and forensic tools do a great job at ingesting the data and sorting it for analysis. Metadata is data about data, and all files have it. Deleted data cannot always be recovered, especially from newer devices. And finally, reporting, which is the final step of the process, detailing everything that occurred during the examination. I'd like to thank you all for your time today. Now, passing it back to Jeff.
Thanks, Nick. That was a great presentation. Now I'm going to briefly walk you through how Lexby helps law firms and enterprises address the challenges of smartphones in their cases. At Lexby, we provide comprehensive remote and on-site forensic collections that are fully defensible. We utilize industry-leading tools like Celebrate and Magnet. We can identify the email accounts, we can identify the social media accounts or the cloud-based accounts and collect all of that from the custodian devices. We handle a very wide range of device and account types, as you can see on this partial list. And now I'd like to ask our next polling question. Do you have a forensic collection project, and would you like a complimentary consult? All right, I'll go ahead and close that polling question. With Lexby's e-discovery platform hosted at Amazon Web Services, you get on-demand capabilities at scale to address the needs of your case. With Lexby's cloud infrastructure, you can get from document ingestion to review faster and get your productions out the door faster. All of your remote or mobile connected employees can access the Lexby discovery platform via web browser. It works great on Macs, PCs, iPhones, and Android devices. On this slide, I wanted to point out that Lexby is a single end-to-end e-discovery platform. Unlike many e-discovery providers, you don't have to move your data from one solution to another. Lexby has fully integrated processing, review, analytics, case timelining, artificial intelligence algorithms, and production capabilities. Keeping your data in an end-to-end e-discovery platform like Lexby helps eliminate the risk of errors from moving data between platforms, as well as eliminates the cost of what's often called promoting data from one platform to the next. And you can do it yourself and don't have to use expensive e-discovery project managers. Lexby utilizes AI and machine learning algorithms for several use cases, including transcription. We've seen a lot of that with Zoom calls and the growth in video conferencing since the pandemic. Also, language detection and translation, sentiment analysis, cognitive image recognition. So if you've got a matter that has a lot of photographs and you want to automatically categorize those photographs based upon the content of the photos, our algorithm does that, and it does an exceptionally good job of automatically categorizing and tagging those images. We have entity identification and more. These algorithms are tuned to perform these tasks and enable firms to handle those document-intensive matters efficiently and effectively. Now I'm briefly going to touch on some of our clients and the experiences they've had with Lexby. Paige Tackett really appreciated our customer service as well as the speed of the platform. She was formerly a Relativity user at the time. David Jones had a very positive outcome against some AmLaw opposition. And then Patrick Biggins, again, was very appreciative of the end-to-end platform and affordability and customer support as well. Now I'm going to touch on e-discovery pricing. The purpose of e-discovery technology really should be to improve your document review capabilities, helping you build your best case while driving efficiencies in both time and cost. Unfortunately, there's still a lot of e-discovery providers that don't pass on the cost savings that technology affords. We host the LexB e-discovery platform in the Amazon Web Services Cloud. Our processing, storage, and networking capabilities are not only highly advanced, but they're also incredibly cost-effective. And we pass those cost savings on to customers. Here's an example of how we compare to a relativity reseller. We engineered and developed our own cloud-based e-discovery platform more than 16 years ago and continue to innovate and improve with each new release. In this comparison, you'll see that the relativity reseller charges $30 per gig for data ingestion. Our highly efficient processing servers and serverless architecture enable us to offer this for free. While the concept of promotion might sound good, as I mentioned, it is associated with moving data from one platform to another. And with LexB, since we're end-to-end, we don't require you to do that. And not only does this save you $125 per gig in this case, but it also helps eliminate data handling errors. We also don't charge user fees, so you can have as many users as you need at no additional cost. We also have 7 different user permission levels to help keep your data safe. We don't nickel and dime you either with OCR or electronic endorsement fees per page. We also have advanced analytics integrated into the platform at no additional cost, and we're able to deliver savings on the hosting as well. Regardless of if your case is small or document intensive, I'm confident you'll find that LexB delivers the industry's best return on investment. And with that, I'll ask our last polling question. Would you like a demo of the LexB Discovery platform? While you're answering that, I'll let you know that we'll be making the following available to webinar attendees: a recorded streaming version, an MP3 podcast, as well as a PDF. Please let us know if you have any questions or comments about this webinar or suggestions for future topics. This webinar is part of the LexB Discovery webinar series. For notices of future live and on-demand webinars as part of this series, please email us at webinars@lexb.com or follow us on LinkedIn. And with that, I'd like to thank Nick for presenting today, and thank you for attending our webinar. Also, at the end of today's event, you'll find a survey. We take your advice and insight very seriously. We'd like to continue to improve this program and bring you high quality forensic and e-discovery content. So please fill out the survey so we can continue to improve our program. Watch your inbox for an invite to our next webinar on best practices in forensics and e-discovery. And with that, I hope you have a great day. Take care.